Okay, gents, trying to do a new video for you because the sound quality on the last one wasn't very good. It's to do with your wheel design on 2D design. Okay, so what we're going to look at doing is keeping the page there at A3 size. We're going to have a quick recap here on grid lock, step lock, and your grid spacings, and go through some of these tools and features here. Okay. Some of you have already done this, and this is just going to be a recap, but it'll be a new video for you guys, okay? Now, I always start with this by changing my grid spacing. They're on 10 millimeters at the moment. I just changed those grid spacings to 5 millimeters. That's just a personal preference. 5 millimeter grid spacings are obviously going to be a bit more accurate when you're trying to do smaller things, okay? And you might want to adjust your line sizes and leave grid lock on. It's just easier for you then, okay? So putting grid lock on, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify what size I want my wheel to be, okay? So take my circle tool. Anywhere on your page you'll notice that the cursor goes to the dots, and watch this REL box down the bottom here. This gives me my position of the cursor on the page, but then when I click the mouse it goes to 0, and when I drag out, it drags out in radiuses of 5. So 5 mil, 10, 15, 20, etc. Right? That's the radius. Now you guys know that the radius of a circle is from the center point to the outside edge. So if I drag that out 1 grid spacing of 5, look, it's dragged it out 2 overall. It drags it out 5 radius, so it's 10 millimeters in diameter. The wheel size that I've shown you as an example is about 80 millimeters. So if I do this one at 40, you know that that's 40 millimeter radius and 80 millimeters diameter overall. So I can select, when it gets to 40, click. I also want to use the same center point for my axle. It's no good you guys picking an axle point there, because if your axle goes through there and your car is going to drive like something off Wacky Racers or something, okay? The axle needs to be in the center. It needs to be centered. So that's why we've left grid lock on for this, okay? Having that axle size there of 10 millimeters though is too big. Now grid lock was on, so I could only do it to 5 millimeter radius. Select it, click property, and change that radius in there to 1. So that means our axle size is going to be 2 millimeters in diameter. And what I can do then is I can zoom in on that wheel and I can show you that axle there will be a 2 millimeter hole. Now I've still got my grid lock on, and an easy way to do this now to make this wheel slightly lighter, and the example that I've shown you there, is just by drawing circles, okay? And what you can do here, you could draw a circle there, you could draw a circle there, you could draw a circle, and you just draw in circles to make the wheel lighter. Another way of doing that, if I just delete these a moment, is to have a circular pattern. Now if I select that there and check its diameter, check its radius, sorry, and I do that, say to, let's do it 10. It's a bit small actually. That's about right there. It leaves me enough room on the edge there to make the wheel nice and strong, but still reducing its weight. What I can do there now is transform the shape, and what I can do is I can make a circular pattern. If I click and hold this feature here and drag across there, draw a circular array of the selected object. Well, the circle is the selected object, and this is a circular array. Then it gives me an option. The angle of rotation, if you had it like 90 degrees, 60 degrees, whatever, and it's going to put 11 in there. Well, 11's too many. I'll just play around with this, 6 and 60 and OK, and then you've got to select the point of which you want to rotate it around. So as you've already got that center point marked for the axle, that's the good place to do it. Okay, and once you click that, it gives you an array, a pattern, a circular pattern. If I edit, undo that a moment, and I do the same thing again, and I change this maybe to 50 degrees, and I change this to 7, let's watch what happens. It puts them further apart, look. Okay, so let's edit, undo that again, and do the same thing again. Let's try 70 and 7. And it puts them, oh sorry, the 50 puts them closer together, but I had 7, I had too many. Undo that, do this again. Let's do the 50 again, sorry, but let's do 6. Yeah, not quite, I'm not really a fan of that, to be honest, because the gaps don't look, that gap between the first and the last one there doesn't look too great, okay? So you can divide it up, and you can have a play around with that to your leisure, okay? Another thing I did try and show my group was the positioning of maybe a cutout for the spoke, and this is going to be a cutout that the material is going to be removed, so the spoke will actually be the bit next to it. So if I drew a smaller circle underneath and I got my line tool, I just put step lock on a moment, drag that down to there, and drag that down to there. Now my laser cutter is going to cut all of that out, and I'm going to have lots of circles, but what it could do, yours is on delete any. If I selected that bit and I just want to cut this bit out, delete it all. So be careful, press and hold the delete any and hold it down and come across, delete part of an object, and you could delete that part and it hasn't overlapped. Okay, this is very, see, they're not touching, they've got to be touching. If I just make this circle slightly bigger, 5.1, okay, and that is now touching and I can delete it. Alright, so go to last on it. So then I've got a spoke cut out. Well, what I could do from there now is select and press and hold shift, select these features and use my pattern. Okay, and there's my center of rotation, and it puts that pattern in there. So what I could do, space those out a little bit, or duplicate them and have a rectangular pattern and arrange them at a different angle. Okay, I'll leave that up to you to play with. Another thing you could do, if I undo this very quickly, I could just simply have a spoke cut out like that, and then I could use my radius tool to radius those off, something like that. I could use a bigger circle in the middle and a smaller circle on the outside, and I could drop that into there, and I'm rushing this now, and drop that into there, and you could do it that way around. There's another different wheel design there for you. Okay, just have a play, come up with four or five different design ideas for wheels. Okay, really avoid dividing your wheel up like this. Don't think that these are going to be spokes. Don't think that these lines here that I'm just drawing out now are going to work, because the laser cutter is going to cut around that circle, it's going to cut down there, it's going to cut across there, and this piece here is just going to drop out. This piece here is just going to drop out, okay? It's not going to work for you. Alright? So have a go. When you save it, you guys should be on Pupil 1, do File, Save As, go to this PC, scroll right down to the bottom, and where my What's D username is there, you will see Pupil 1. Save it in there as your name and your class. Okay?